Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Talk. I'm your host, Amir, and you're not watching Disney Channel. This week, we have a very, very awesome guest. It's pretty, it's not everyday guest that you get to see on this show. He's tall, he's talented, he's Irish, he's not a pint of Guinness, and he's Paddy Usher. Welcome to the show, Paddy.
Good
Welcome.
to see you. How are you?
It's correct. Right? It's Paddy Usher, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Paddy Usher is, if you must know, is a very, very awesome musician. He's sessionist, and he's done quite a lot of projects in the past year. How long has it been you've been doing in music industry?
Music. I've been playing music since I was 13 years old. I've been writing songs since I was about 15, so I've been doing this a long time. So grew up in Ireland and done this work, and I suppose in those days when I was learning, and I've kind of self-taught on all the instruments I play and all the recording and the work that I do. I've learned that, in my day growing up, it was a little more difficult. You didn't have as much electronic items around. It was all done by ear and sitting and working and trying to teach yourself in a lot of cases.
So technically you're self-taught.
Would be self-taught in a lot of stuff. Yeah.
That's cool.
Would have got a few lessons from some of my old friends that would have been home, like Enda Burns, Joey Burns, friends like that would have lived around my locality. They were great. A lot of musicians around the area. So you'd always catch up with them and learn little pieces off people here and there, but a lot would have to be done at home. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. So before we're moving on, right, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Maverick Paul Studio, who give us this awesome access to this awesome studio. If you want to know more about Maverick Paul Studio, I leave the link to their social media, website, and everything down in the description below. You guys know what to do. So before we continue, I always like to give a random questions for all of us to actually to think about. It's completely out of topic, but it's just something to, those shower thoughts that you have, just random thoughts that you have in the shower, right? So
you mean all day?
Yeah.
Not just in the shower.
Right. So it's just one of the random thoughts. Like, have you ever thought that when you're flirting, right, when you bite your bottom lips while flirting is very, very sexy, but when you bite your upper lips, it's not at all. Have you ever thought
that's a pretty random question now, in all fairness.
Yeah.
And it's not like I sit and look at myself in the mirror and go, should I use an upper lip thing or a bottom lip thing? I think my girlfriend would be able to maybe answer that question better than I would, most certainly.
It's just one of the random thoughts, the other day I did actually have this thought, like just stand out in front of me, like, no, not actually at all.
Okay.
All right. So now that's out of the way.
What else do you do to amuse yourself?
It's just something I do, Right. Whatever you guys think, you guys know what to do. If you guys have your own thoughts, just comments below. So, okay. So that's out of the way.
All right.
Let's get down to the real thing.
Okay.
Right. So let's talk about, a little bit more about yourself. Introduce a little bit more about yourself.
As I said, I'm from Ireland. We've been playing music a long time. The original bands that we got together when we were kids would have been called Jacuzzi Jungle.
Okay.
And so this music that I'm releasing now is kind of what I thought it should have sounded like, or what I wanted to hear from it, or where I wanted it to go. So that band consisted of my brother, Joey Burns, James Usher, Kevin Toomey, who is since deceased and passed away, Dave Clinton, my bass player, who's since deceased and passed away also.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And Richard Smith as well, who was the other guitar player in the band. We done so much. We all grew up together.
Right.
So all the work that we done in that band over the years, we travelled everywhere. We were all over the place, and we're doing TV shows and radio and stuff everywhere. So we had we covered an awful lot of ground, and it was very much 70s acid jazz, space rock, psychedelic music.
So that's more of your genre. So.
Look, there's everything mixed in there, but that's what we kind of grew up on, along with a lot of rock and roll from the 70s. And,
Right.
That's where I suppose where the heart would be more than anything else. But I do really listen to absolutely everything, and I think it's important for musicians to listen to everything, because you need to have a good sense of what's going on around yours. Modern music today, I think I'm lost with a lot of it, to be quite honest. I don't know the last time that I actually sat down and watched like an MTV show or even switched on the radio.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much shit out there. And most of it is terrible.
Yeah.
I do really find a lot of it terrible. Like this production line music, it's just there's nothing that excites me anymore.
The art of music is no longer there.
Well, it seems to be dying. You know, I remember reading an article not so long ago about somebody was talking about the melodies and songs in the 60s and the 70s and how they how they got a feel and how they grew and how people fell in love with that. And today you're just kind of lost. You know, there is some artists that you see out there like I remember watching Lady Gaga playing live, and I have to say I was completely blown away. But what she was introduced as to the world was something very different than what she is as a player.
Yeah.
You know, she's quite remarkable, to be quite honest, really. Another guy, Bruno Mars, is another guy I listened to some of his stuff lately, and to listen to them acoustic playing is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't really see that from them initially. You know, they have to go through this shitty pop stage, and you know, I don't have a great love for it, to be quite honest. You know, and I suppose like they're just people on a production line, really, to be quite honest. You know, and the way that the markets are today, like as regards for independent musicians or for somebody that's signed to a label, like labels these days are few and far between. There's only some of the majors that's left around. Independent artists and independent labels don't have money, so they can't do anything for an artist.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hard for them. You know, fair enough, they can get them up on social media and they can put them out on different places like that, like Spotify and your iTunes and so on and so forth. But that's about as far as they can go. They can't do much more than that.
Yeah,
so
because their funding is limited.
The funding is non-existent. It's not there. Same for all independent labels. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them. So, and it's troublesome for them as well, because they have to do all the footwork. And then if somebody is good enough and they grow and they excite a crowd and they're doing well enough, well, that's maybe when a major might come and pick them off. But the major won't do anything with anybody until a product is completed, because they don't want to spend any money on anybody. You know, so it's a difficult world for anybody who's trying to get into it today.
Yeah. So technically, it's like a few weeks ago, I also have a couple of friends who is in a rock band, local Malaysia rock band. For them, also it's a bit it's a very hard start for them. You know, like because they are independent and they are in a garage rock genre.
Yeah.
And some more rock and roll nowadays, like barely people even listen to rock and roll anymore, right? Like for me, I do grow up with rock and roll, but judging from what's on the radio and on the internet nowadays is what barely people actually listen to nowadays.
Yeah, it all depends on what jurisdiction you're in, if you will, or what country you're in, or what location you're in. Like I remember years ago coming across to Malaysia in 2011, I think it was, and there was a great acoustic scene, around bars and pubs and stuff like that. You know, where I'm from, there's music coming out of everybody's ears every day of the week. It's everywhere. You know, it really is. But that's part of our tribe, our tradition, our home. You know, and you go to the States, it's all rock and roll everywhere, and they're still playing lots of stuff from the 70s rockers and a lot of those early bands. You know, the southern rock bands, which I really love, I really enjoy. Here, it's plastic pop. It's shit. I've no time for it. I can't stand it. It does my head in. I want nothing got to do with it. But that's what you have here. You don't have anything else. You know, half of those bands that probably were kicking around a long time ago, they have fizzled away and they've died off because it's very difficult to make a living. You know, the other thing is, like, you see cover bands over here and they go out and they spend maybe 3 sets they play in a night of maybe 3/4 of an hour each. They're lucky if they walk out of that bar with $400. It's very difficult to live. It's very difficult to maintain that. So the breaks aren't there for people over here. You know, it's very rare you see something coming out of Malaysia for a start. But Kuala Lumpur is obviously the city where you're going to get that sort of music. But it's very difficult for people to break out. You know, and people can kill themselves and work hard, but unless you leave this country and travel and go somewhere else and get yourself out there, you ain't going anywhere fast. And I think it's quite remarkable in Malaysia. You have wonderful weather everywhere for most of the year, apart from now where it's lashing rain. And there's no, the festivals are limited. You know, even international acts, they come in and they're scripted. You can't do this, you can't say that, you can't do that. Remove that lyric, you can't sing this song. What's the point in coming to sing your songs?
Exactly, that's true. It's like so many restrictions, when it comes to this entertainment industry. To be exact, so much restriction. Like you cannot say this, you cannot wear this, you cannot wear that, you can't say this, say that.
I know, and the real annoying part of it, you see some bands coming across and they make it on shore, they land here, they're ready to play, and then they're told you can't play.
I think like I myself also like as I said earlier, I listen to a lot of metal and rock and roll band, and I can say most of them unable to perform here in Malaysia. I think because of the content in their music is what makes them like very hard to come here and play.
I think though the country's changing a lot in the last while, and I think things are starting to turn around a bit, and you're really looking to build up your economy here a hell of a lot better, and there's a lot of bucks that can be made from the entertainment industry, and I really think that things are starting to change for the better, and I hope to do. I really hope to get better.
Yeah, that's like I'm also, but because I from time to time I do go to bars where they have live band performing, and from time to time I did came across a very good band or singers that will perform at the bar. Most of them have to go underground, but some of them, they said, because they don't get a chance yet to be recognized.
It's very difficult for them, but let's be honest. Between the Malays, the Indonesians, the Thais, you have magical performers and magical players everywhere.
Yeah,
it really is. But it's very difficult for them to get out on top.
Yeah.
Hence why they're going to have to suffer going down the road of the cover band act and that sort of thing. And that can only last for so long before you get pissed off doing that, and you need something else to entertain yourself or something else to get on. And I've never really gone down that road because I don't get enjoyment from. It's not that I don't get enjoyment from playing other people's music. It's if I can and I'm capable of writing all this stuff, why am I going to be bothering playing somebody else's stuff? I want to do my own, and I want other people to hear my stuff. And you want to have something that you want to be, something that you want to accomplish, something you want to build, and something you want to grow, and something you want to see, where it goes or how it works out. And it's nice watching that, But as regards for doing cover stuff, not for me.
Because when you say cover, anybody can do cover, right?
Yeah.
So next thing, let's talk about your new band, the Jacuzzi Jungle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Jacuzzi Jungle is me.
Right.
And me alone.
Oh, okay.
There's nobody else in it. It's just me. The songs that I'm presenting on this album is they're songs that I've written from mid-90s up until today. Adding a bit on here, adding a bit on there, doing a bit of work here. It's like a project, something that's going on in the background. Like I mentioned earlier on about the original Jacuzzi Jungle band, which was a 70s jazz funk sort of acid jazz, space rock kind of band.
Right.
But there was everything thrown in. This, and that fizzled away. It went a long time ago. So the idea of this is to bring it back and to play all these songs, which are not old songs. They're all new and they're all original and they're all written by me myself. But it's to get that. It's what I heard inside when I was writing. For Jacuzzi Jungle. This is what I wanted to hear. These are the instruments I wanted to have, and I want to have a big bucket of stuff, all mixed up.
Right.
And I've got the chance to do that. So now I'm going to release all this stuff, and it's still all funk and. There's a lot of jazz stuff in there, but it's also electronic as well. So there's a lot of dancey kind of grooves in there as well. So there's a lot of it that's dance floor orientated as well. So it's a big mix. It's an eclectic mix of madness.
Okay, so it's more of a madhouse album, like for party and like rave or like you said, like 70s kind of disco vibe, right?
Yeah, look, electronic music has so many different regions to it, if you will. That stuff. No, something that you can dance to. Something that you can dance to, you can move, and that was a very important part of it, to have those sort of time signatures that people can dance, and comfortably dance, as opposed to,
Yeah, that's the thing. When it comes to dance music, electro music that you listen to in the club nowadays. Like I cannot go to club. I cannot stand staying in a club because of the people and the music in there. It just
Well, you know, and interesting things about clubs as well is, you know, if you end up going to clubs for years, the decibel level in most clubs that you go to is way too high, and everybody comes out with ears ringing, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous, and it's not looked after. It's not managed, and it is dangerous. And I don't have a great love for going to clubs. Jeez, I can't remember the last time I went to a club, actually. I'd far rather go out with Alex or some of the old bandmates and whatever, and sit down and maybe play a couple of tunes and have a few beers and a bit of food or something. That's I suppose that sets in as you get older.
Yeah, even for me, I'm actually even though I'm 23, I think I've been to.
You're only a baby. You should be going to clubs.
No, man. Okay, that's the only reason. Okay, one of the reasons that I cannot go to club, that I don't want to go to club.
Yeah.
I tend to get claustrophobic with so many people around me. Yeah, so
that happens too.
Yeah, even though I'm just 23, like, yeah, you're still young, go to club. But no, I still prefer. I have my own friends. We usually go to bars, bars with kitchens, just chill and
relax.
Watch. If there's a live band, or we just hang out like at mama, like typical Malaysian,
Yeah.
So yeah, until 2-3 a.m. That's all. I cannot go to clubs. Not to say I cannot. I do. I just can't. It's just not my thing. Yeah. And people did ask me from time to time, like, okay, if you cannot handle a crowd in a club, but you go to concerts, it's the same thing, but.
It's a very different.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Like for me, if because most concerts they are outdoors, you can still breathe the air. But club is indoor, just in there.
And that's one of the things I very much miss about being in the States or being back in Ireland. Like go to Dublin City. You've never seen a city for it like music. You'll see major acts on every night of the week. Every night of the week. Really, absolutely brilliant. Like the last major show I went to over here was quite a few years ago. We had Ash were playing and Smashing Pumpkins were playing, and it was out at the Sabang Racecourse. And it was a great event. It was really good. I just don't understand why they don't happen more often over here.
Exactly.
The next I suppose big show like that I'll be going. I want to go down and see Slayer down in the Philippines in Manila because they're on their final leg of the world tour. So I want to catch that. But yeah, I'd be more interested in that environment, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, as opposed to the clubs,
I myself also, like, if we have this kind of thing, I would like literally spend most of my money there. I think my last biggest concert that I went to was Megadeth.
Yeah.
It was a few years ago. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I went there, and it was awesome.
Great.
It was great, and. Yeah, the next day I got sick because of. I felt sick the next day, but it was worth it,
Too many beers, was it? Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it was worth it. It's that kind of event that we need more. Because by the end of the day, you still have fun. You still actually remember what's going on.
Well, that goes for some, not for others. But you get bang for your buck. You do. You really do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So. Okay, so next thing is about this Jacuzzi Jungle project of yours. What inspired you to actually make this project, to come back? Because you said Jacuzzi Jungle was in your early days. Now that you decided to bring it back.
Yeah, well, I like a lot of different types of music. I like to write a lot of different types of music. Like the Paddy Usher band, is a rock and roll band. It always has been. And any of those earlier albums they're all rock and roll. But when I started playing here in Malaysia with Alex and Jay and the guys, it just turned into an acoustic outfit because it was easier. It was easier. And the other thing was, walking in and out of venues in Malaysia where you have a 5-piece band and you have 5 singers, and people say, well, what can you do with 2 mics? You can only live with that shit for so long, So. So it kind of took a hiatus from me. I said, well, I've all this old stuff that I haven't done anything with in a long time. So it's time to go back, and it's time to root that out, and it's time to bring it out, and it's time to finish it off, and it's time to release it and get it done. It's always been there. So I just needed to finish it and package it and put everything together in one place and then put it out. Okay. So I felt like this was a good time to do it,
Okay, that's cool. So when, the initial day that you started with this project?
Like I said, like some of these songs are from back in the mid-90s.
Oh, okay, so then some of the songs that from the album, this upcoming album, is actually a very long song that I've yet to release. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that actually some of the artists out there, they tend to do that. They went back to some of their old ideas.
You're right, and you're right, and you're right, and you're right. And, so sometimes you have years, and I know I had quite a bit of time as well, where I just sit and just write nonstop. And then, I suppose you have to go out and get the rest of the components and put it together, as regards band. And sometimes that's great. It works out well. You can find the right people. Sometimes you don't, So if you're having difficulty with that, you need to be working at something else. So I really wanted to do this and get it done, get it finished, and out there.
All right. So when can we expect this album to come out?
I hope to have it out very soon after Christmas. So okay. roughly January. Probably.
So it'll be released globally, internationally. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So right now, with this Jacuzzi Jungle, is your own project, and also you're a sessionist musician, right? Do you?
I'm a sessionist for myself. And that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've played with other small projects and stuff here and there, but no, I spend most of my time doing my own work, and that's it. Trying to find time to do it is difficult enough, and trying to find time to do somebody else's work is even more difficult. So I'm concentrated on my own work now for the last few years, and that's primarily what I do.
Yeah. Okay. Because when you because even right now as a independent musician, everything's from your own pocket, right? So obviously most of independent musician, they have a day job, so they can continue with their own to produce their own music, right? So even you also have how do you actually manage with your music and your day job?
Well, the job that I work in at the moment is I work kind of odd hours because I don't start until maybe some days it could be 2 o'clock and I don't finish till maybe 12:30, 1 a.m. So I always have that time in the morning that I can utilize for whatever I need to do, and then I get a couple of days off during the week and I can utilize them. So it's more about perseverance. If you want to get something done, you will do it. If you want to be lazy, well, then you ain't going to get anything done at any time anytime soon. So it's about perseverance. If you want to find the time to do something, you'll find the time to do it.
I mean, there's always a time.
Yeah, and the more you're interested and the more you're involved in what you're doing, and the projects that you have going on, obviously, the more you will pressure yourself to kind of get them done and dusted and out of the way, and make sure that they get to fruition and people get to hear them. So it's perseverance, really. Same as everything.
Yeah, it's it's true. If you want it, if there's a will, there's a way. It's all about time management. So how you organize your daily schedule, everything. Yeah, it's true. So before we end this, is there any words you want to give to youngsters, new musician out there that struggling as well? That I believe that most of independent musician nowadays are.
Wise words for young musicians. Don't. Unless you're willing to get your heart broken in 1,000 places, unless you're willing to be undermined by everybody, unless you're willing to have to scrape everything from the bottom of the barrel, if your heart's not in it, and you're really serious about it, well, they don't go hand in hand, do they?
Yeah.
You got to be really serious about it if you want to do it. If you want to grow, I would say to you, get out, listen to everything, meet everybody. Probably one of the best things you can do is start to, like a wonderful thing over you see everywhere is like open mic nights where people get to break the ice. In a lot of cases, you have people that are bedroom musicians. They don't move from their bedrooms. They go in and they'll play at home, and and it's like if you sit down and watch an X Factor show, it's like, oh, my dad and my mum said I was brilliant, but in actual fact, you're shit. People have odd ideas about how to go around these things, but and what they listen to and where they get their encouragement from. Get up on a stage, sit down on an open mic night, and understand if that's really for you, and that will test you.
Yeah.
And if you're able to do that, and then you feel it in your belly and you got the fire in your belly, well then proceed, but proceed with caution.
Yep.
And network as much as you possibly can as well. There's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of shitheads. and you gotta really work through the weeds. You know?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a straight up answer right there, guys. If you think that being a musician gonna give you a an instant fame and fortune, I don't think so. Right, I don't think so. So because like I said previous week, I have a friend who is in a rock band. They also struggling. They also know how hard it is to be an independent musician. It's not an overnight job, you know. So yeah, like Paddy here said, like, you know, if you got that, you know, if you really want it, if you're really determined, go ahead.
Keep at it.
You know, yeah, keep at
it. You know.
So yeah, that's about it. That's all the time that we have today. Thank you again. Thank you for joining me, guys. If you like this episode, you guys know what to do. Everybody knows what to do. Till next week, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.